Sideline. Touchdown. Pass is intercepted in the goal line. Up for the line. Oh, blocked by James. Way downtown.
And we are live. Just kidding. That's our old intro. Welcome to the 2020 podcast, where hindsight is 2020 and the takes are 10 out of 10. If you are a returning listener, you know where to find us on all social media platforms. We do love and appreciate you for tuning in today or listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you're finding us. Make sure you hit subscribe and follow. If you've never listened to us before, welcome to the 2020 podcast. I'm your host, Jacob. This is your co-host, Drew. You are currently listening to, nope, not the NFL show. You are listening to the NBA show.
Light the beam.
There you go.
Light the beam.
While I'm over here on the quest to banner 19. So, you know, we're a little bit different levels. That's okay. 1950 something to just last year. A little bit different levels to things. Again, we do appreciate you tuning in today. We do have an excellent show. We're going to get into the Paolo Banchero injuries, the Pacers versus the Celtics, and maybe is there a key there to beating the Celtics during that game? The Cavs, very, very strong start. The opposite side, and the 76ers and the Bucks not doing so well to start their season. But before we get into any of that, I always got to ask the question, whether it's Tuesday, whether it's Friday. Drew, how you doing?
Light the beam, baby. Kings got a dub. Dub.
There you go. It's always exciting, even if it is only against the Hawks. A win is a win.
Hey, they won 3 in a row, bro.
Yeah, what was it? So it was Trailblazers, Hawks, and what was the last one?
The Jazz.
Yeah, there we go. That's all right. A win's a win. I don't think you guys have any like super exciting matchups until maybe the Clippers. I think is next week, and you have the Suns a little bit after that. So a little bit exciting stuff. You know, a couple games in between there. No, you got the Raptors tomorrow and the Raptors again, and like a little bit after that. But point is,
I got something I want to talk about.
Okay, and what do you want to talk about?
I was just wondering about your thoughts on this one thing right here. I just want to see what you think about this one right here. What's that man?
Yep.
Who is that man?
So I
Whoa! Whoa! Can somebody tell me what is going on right there? I swear that was former Celtic Grant Williams laying the boom.
Yeah.
Is this the Tuesday night podcast or the Friday night podcast? Because my man out here looking like Ray Lewis.
Yeah, well, you got the biggest cornball in the NBA, trying to hit a superstar. He's such a no one likes Grant Williams. Let's keep it a buck. Do you like Grant Williams? No, you don't like Grant. No one likes Grant Williams. And if you do like Grant Williams, you're a fucking liar. That's what you are. There's no fucking shot. So
you know what I love? You know what I love about Twitter, X, Elon's app? Is that anytime something like this happens, there's always some type of random video that posts up. So after this happens, this guy, I'm not going to give him clout, but he posts this random ass video of Grant Williams walking through the Celtics locker room, and he's dapping everybody up, all his teammates. And he gets to the very end, he sticks his hand out, and Deuce is sitting there, Jason's son, and Deuce just stares up at him like he doesn't give him no daps, bro. He doesn't give him a headshot. He just stares at him like, and then Grant walks away, and it's like, it makes sense now why Deuce Tatum didn't want to dap Grant Williams up. Yeah, because that dude, a little bit of a scumbag.
He knew something.
Scumbag cornball.
Exactly. Bingo.
He'd be the type of dude who, if he was deactivated for the game, he would stand on the sideline the entire time in his whole ass uniform.
He probably would. Give him the Russell Wilson treatment. All right, let's go and start at the top and start with the unfortunate news of Paolo Banchero. He enjoyed his first 50-point game of his career on Monday. Unfortunately, 3 days later, we got the news that we don't know when he is going to play again. Right now, he's going to be reevaluated between 4 to 6 weeks out. That's going to give him about 15 to 21 games missed, which is a quarter of the season he's going to potentially miss, which really sucks because he's played 72 games in each of his first 2 years. But he's obviously not going to meet the mark this year. So far, I know it's only been a couple of games that he has played, but he was averaging 29 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, 5.6 assists on a field goal percentage of 49.5%, 3-point percentage of 34.4%, and a career low in turnovers in 2.2. So career highs almost all the way across the board for Paolo. This is something that we talked about in terms of the Magic, that Paolo was going to have to take that next step to get the Magic to, hopefully the top 3 seeds is what they were going to kind of hope for. And he was taking that next step until this happens. Super unfortunate from them. What is going to be the impact for Paolo missing 15 to 21 games? Who's going to really step up? How are they going to adapt to this time that he's going to miss?
I don't want to go out of here. I don't want to come out here and say that it's not going to be a huge loss for them, because anytime
Yeah.
you lose your guy, your leader, it's tough. But the Magic are they're so deep right now that I
Yeah.
think, luckily enough, they're going to be able to tread water. This would be the same thing. Does anyone notice that the Celtics don't have Porzingis right now? No, they don't. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be okay. Now, are they going to be top 2, top 3 in the East while he's out? Probably not. But you're able to tread water. If they can go 7-7, I mean, to me, that's it's so early in the season
Oh yeah,
that it's
definitely.
shouldn't be something. He could take the time he needs to take. He can,
Get healthy, get right.
get healthy down the stretch. He was averaging 29 points, 8.8 rebounds, 5 assists. That's the most points per game to start a season by a player under 21 since LeBron.
Yep.
So next level there.
Anytime you're in company with someone like that, you know that you're doing something right. Yeah, and you mentioned the depth, right? I think that anyone who's watching the Magic, they're going to see more of Jonathan Isaac, Mo Wagner, Jet Howard really slide into the starting lineup. They're probably going to mix it up the next couple of weeks and find out who's going to be the best rotational pieces here. And I think they're going to probably gear towards what they're strongest at, and that's going to be the defensive presence, right? With the team ranking in the league's top 10 in defensive rebounds, steals, blocks, there's potential for more defensive-minded rotations to help carry the load. Though losing Banchero really is a setback, his injury happening earlier in the season is better than it happening way later or right before the playoffs, and all of a sudden, all of it kind of just goes out the window. And it does suck, right? Because they ended up bringing back a handful of guys: Mo Wagner, Gary Harris, Goga, a couple guys that were key pieces to last year's playoff run, making the playoffs and battling against the Cavs, unfortunately losing. But again, bringing back some of those guys. And then their biggest move that they made was bringing in a vet in KCP, bringing in championship level of experience and a veteran presence to really help this young, bolstering roster that is looking to make a push. And you brought it up right before the season started. They got a lot of guys that they're going to go ahead and have to sign like very, very, very soon. If they can't make a strong run now, they're going to have a tough time keeping all these guys, the important pieces, together. So this really sucks. They want to be a contender. Losing a guy for a quarter of the season, yes, it's better earlier than later, and you have a deep rotation to rotate these guys in and out. But that 29 points per game, that's what you're going to miss. I don't know who's going to really come up with those 29 points per game because the defensive stuff, I think, is replaceable. It's the offensive side of the ball. Who do you really see stepping up the most to replace those points?
I don't know if it can be identified right this second, but I'm
Mhm.
excited to see who it is, because that team is full of young talent,
Yeah.
players that have the ability to take the next level. I know they lost against the Cavs, but
Yeah.
Franz stepping up,
Everyone's losing
and
against the Cavs so far.
yeah, isn't that crazy?
Literally.
That's
Yeah.
such an interest. It's so early in the season but you just kind of scroll through some of the stats that are going on right now.
Yeah.
First of all, do you see how many 3-pointers that Ant is shooting?
Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount.
And
They
he's at
fought.
43%. I think he has 29. And
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, he's not just going to do that, right? Like, he's not
Yeah.
just going to be a 42, 41% 3-point shooter now, cuz if he is, it might be a wrap for everybody else. Like, that's just impossible to guard. And Do you know? Do you know who the youngest player in the history of the NBA to average 25 points and 10 assists a game is for a season? Youngest
Is it?
player.
Is it? What'd you say? What was the last thing you said?
The youngest player
Right.
for an entire season to
Yeah.
average 25 points, 10 assists a game. He did it when he was 18.
Is it? Is it LeBron or is it?
It is LeBron.
Okay.
Do you know who the oldest player to average 25 points and 10 assists a game is?
Was it LeBron in 2020? I'm guessing.
It's LeBron right now.
Oh, he's averaging 10 assists a game right now.
From 18
God
years
damn.
old to 39 years old. Listen to me. From 18 years old to 39 years old. That's stupid, bro. That is stupid. Like, the NBA is a hoot right now, and I hate to hijack this whole thing, but I can't even feel all that bad for Magic fans right now, because all it's going to do is it's just going to give their secondary players a chance to step up early in the season. He's coming back. He didn't tear an ACL. He didn't pop an Achilles. He's going to be all right.
Yep.
And this is going to help them. This is going to help you guys. I'm not going to say it's good, but
Right.
it's going to be the best of a bad situation. Your other players are going to learn clutch time scoring. They're going to learn how to step up, and we're going to see who's a legit second and third option on this team, and not the second and third option when he's out there facilitating and doing his thing. The second and third option when he's not available, who can actually step up and fill that role. And, frankly, they're fun as hell to watch. So I hope somebody does develop for them so they can beat the Celtics.
Yeah. Good luck with that one. Honestly, I think right now, KCP isn't playing to the level that he's expected to play. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a step up hopefully for Magic fans from him very specifically. Franz is going to get a lot of offensive looks. And Jalen Suggs isn't really, you would think, is the offensive playmaker, but he's still averaging almost 17 points a game up to this point. Again, 5 games in, 17 points a game almost. So I think a couple of those guys can definitely see a huge bump. But again, specifically KCP stepping up to his contract, and then Franz is probably going to be the focal point offensive playmaker on this team. So that's where I really see the impact going to, is where is the offensive side of the ball going to really develop. Defense, I'm not really worried about it. These guys are really good on the defensive end. The defensive-minded head coach is where it's at. It's the offense I'm concerned about. But looking at a team that you just mentioned, the Boston Celtics, lost against the Indiana Pacers on Wednesday, October 30th, so just a couple of days ago. Indiana began the fourth quarter with a 14-point lead. However, they were unable to hang on to secure the win in your regular time. Celtics surged back. JT forced a pretty crazy three to force the game into overtime, and they end up losing, unfortunately. So the Pacers ended up beating the Celtics. Now the question is, can the Pacers' style of play be the key to beating the Celtics? We didn't really see the Celtics be challenged really too much in the playoffs last year. But I would say that for what the Pacers were and how young they were, and with not any playoff experience outside of Pascal Siakam, they challenged them as much as they could, almost took that game one, and challenged them game in and game out here and there. Obviously, you look at the box scores, it didn't feel like they were challenged, but you really watch the games and they put up a good fight. So specifically, again, could the Pacers' style of play be the key to beating the Celtics?
I know we want stuff to talk about early in the season, and I get it, but the Pacers are 2-4.
Yep.
Like, Tyrese is playing terrible,
Yeah.
and Jason Tatum goes 5 of 18 from the 3-point line.
Yep.
5 of 18 from the 3-point line. Jaylen Brown goes 1 of 11 from the 3-point line, and Peyton Pritchard goes 4 of 11 from the free throw line. Now, I'm not that good at math, but I think that's roughly 9 of 40 out of those guys. Like, come on.
Yeah.
How many times a night is that going to happen? Like, and unfortunately, the Celtics are not breaking the Warriors record. They're not winning 74 games this year.
Right.
It's early in the season. Could this type of offense beat the Celtics in a 7-game series? I'm going to say no, because A, there's only one team out there that has an offense of this caliber right now, and it's the Pacers. And B, the physicality just ramps up so much in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And C, the Celtics don't have their third best player right now.
Yep.
So I would love to debate you on this, but I just don't want to look stupid for the videos later. No, I just, you know what's
So the
gonna
trap didn't work.
no, I think
Damn.
you know what's gonna beat the Celtics is a super high level defensive team that can explode with their scoring. And I don't see that right now in the East. Um,
Right.
I see Minnesota. I see what Ant's doing right now, and that makes me wonder. Obviously, the Shai Thunder haven't lost a game yet, and that's super interesting. Even though I don't know if they have enough offensive talent for the explosion, they definitely have it everywhere defensively. But it just seems so often in the playoffs, even though when the defensive stuff is sound, the offensive players just take it to the next level, and the Celtics have a ton of them. So
Yeah.
I mean, as we sit now, barring injury, they're very clearly still the favorite for their to go back to back. So I'm not too worried about the Pacers. And we talked about their historic offense in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the offseason or have we started already? One of our NBA podcasts. And it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
you know the Celtics still scored 132 points against them. You know
Yep.
that's going to be the thing against the Pacers. They can't play defense, and it's way too early in the season to look at net ratings or any of that kind of stuff. So I don't even have any of that pulled up because it's way too early. But I just don't think ultimately are the Pacers. Let me ask you this: the shooting performance that just take Pritchard out of it, Tatum and Brown had, is that happening more than one time in a 7-game series? Like one of them's bound to cook at least
Yep.
one night. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah, and that's the difficulty, right? And it doesn't have to be any one of those top three guys, right? It also can be Derek White. We've seen Drew Holiday produce offensively when he needs to. 90% of the time he doesn't need to, and that's not his job. But that small 10% of the time he can. I think really the key to this one is Indiana produced a season high in rebounds, 57, and 3-pointers made. And the rebounding, especially the defensive rebounding for Indiana, that is what is key for their offense. If they can't produce at a very high level for their rebounding, they're never going to be able to get their fast break started. They're never going to be able to produce an offense at high speed and high caliber. They're never going to be able to do that. And they're not going to be able to do it if Tyrese Halliburton continues to shoot like a piss poor player. So he needs to really step it up. Indiana needs to continue to produce highly in the rebounding section. When it comes to the Celtics, watching them defensively, it definitely feels like they've taken a small step down. It's there. And if you look at where they're ranked defensively, it's like 12th. We finished third. It's 12th right now. Obviously, there's a lot going on, and I'm going to continue to advocate for more playing time for Luke Cornett, and he did. He started tonight. Al Horford did not play. Queta got a ton of time. I know you love that. So Queta got a ton of playing time tonight. He also got a ton of playing time. He also got a ton of playing time in the last game as well. Put up some, decent performance. Only 2 points, but 9 boards. But he played meaningful minutes, and that's what's important. Again, I'm going to continue to advocate for Luke to start, and I'm going to continue to advocate for Al to just play the most minimal minutes possible right now until you really have to play. I don't want to have to take a rest game 6 games into the season already. If we're getting to that point, I know you're 38, 39 years old. Al Horford is. Let's go ahead and
LeBron's
just.
39.
That's the greatest player of all time. I think it's a little bit different.
Whoa, a little controversial there, huh?
Controversial. Stop it.
The Jordan heads are coming for us, bro.
Yeah, well, they can go fucking type it up on Facebook if they can remember how to use it.
Wow, you're calling the Jordan heads boomers.
Yep, I definitely am.
Hey, did you see Nemi? Did you watch the game tonight?
Yeah.
He might have had a dunk and a teabag on a certain guy on that team that doesn't do a nice thing to women, and it was glorious. It was glorious. I was like, that's my boy Queta. He probably doesn't even know, you know.
Yeah. So again, just like you were saying, with the Celtics, it's really early in the season. This type of play is not going to beat them in a 7-game series. We have yet to see what is going to potentially beat them, but I don't think it's anyone in the East, just like you said. I think at least a finals berth is still looking very, very prominent. It's the teams in the West that look the most competitive right now. But we have to see and we have to keep an eye out for one particular team, and that is going to be the next team that we're talking about. And it has to be.
Did you?
Good.
Before you take it to the next thing, I'll give you one small Celtics criticism. I think they're 24th in the league in rebounding right now. That's not good.
The Celtics are
Mm-mm.
You know what it looks like to me? It's almost, man, it's bad to say. It almost looks lazy sometimes.
Mm.
Like they're genuinely like not trying to go for
Is
the
that
ball.
surprising though? Let's be honest.
At this point in the season, not really. Like
They're gonna cruise.
Yeah, it very much feels like that.
I didn't get to watch the game. I was locked in on the Kings, obviously, like the beam. How did my boy LaMelo look? He dropped a 30 spot. I thought it was interesting. He only had like 3 assists. I'm like, I don't know about that, but
he's looked good for pretty much the entire season up to this point. I really hope. I mean, you and I are both the same way with this NBA or in the NFL. I want these guys to stay healthy, and LaMelo's one of those like high octane, like a lot of potential with LaMelo, with not a lot of it realized because of the injuries that he's had. But he's averaging like 29, 5 boards, 6 assists a game. You want to see those assists a little bit higher than that, but he's played well, man. He's done incredibly well. It's been actually exciting to watch him a little bit. I've been able to catch now 2 games for the Hornets. When it comes to me and watching basketball, I either watch the Celtics or I try to watch an exciting game, and I think that's with most people. If I turn on the game and I'm watching them, shout out to the Warriors fan that's watching right now. I turned on the Warriors versus Blazers like last week, and I turned it on. I watched it for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, wow, this is fucking horrible, and I turned it off. Like I don't like bad basketball, and I'm not saying that about the Warriors specifically, because Buddy Hield's been actually playing pretty damn well, but specifically about the Blazers, if one of the teams is so pissed poor, I'm just gonna shut that shit off like immediately. But the Hornets have been fun, and they've been entertaining at the very least.
Isn't that one of the great things about basketball though? Is I used to get in my car and drive to the Telemus. Kings are gonna lose, but DeMarcus might drop 40. Yep. Kings are gonna lose. It was like, we ain't gonna win, but DeMarcus Cousins might do something crazy. He might score 40 points. He might punch a ref in the face. I'm gonna be entertained tonight. That's the great thing about basketball, is it really kind of doesn't matter. Like, individual performances are entertaining.
Yep.
So
yeah, no, absolutely. So moving on to the team I kind of mentioned a little bit, and that's going to be the Cavs and their strong start to the season. They won tonight. They ended up being,
of course, the Magic, they did,
which obviously Magic losing Paolo, we already talked about that. But the last win that they ended up having before that was against the Lakers. They are now 6-0 with tonight's win against the Magic. A lot of this, to me, with the Cavs, it kind of goes on one player that we've been waiting for a certain development for a while, and it's starting to happen now 5 games into the season, and hopefully it continues, because again, good basketball is good basketball for everyone. And that's Evan Mobley. Of Evan Mobley, we know what the type of caliber of player he is. He's a great defensive player. He's getting Defensive Player of the Year votes last year. We know who he is. We know what he can be. But when you have guys like Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen on the same team, what do? You're clogging the fuck out of the paint for guys like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Right now, Evan Mobley is averaging, let me pull up the number. I have it written down. He is shooting 50% on 1.6 3-point attempts per game. And the league has not quite caught up to contesting him yet, which makes sense. It's only 5 games into the season. They're letting him shoot the open 3. He's not really shooting anything contested at this point. But again, it's better improvement than shooting in the low 20s that he has in previous seasons. If he could just continue just to be a little bit better on the 3-point line and being able to spread out the floor, we're not looking for Evan Mobley to be the second option or the first option on this team. All we're doing is looking for a little bit of a higher volume from 3, shooting better, and now you're not able to ignore Mobley on the outside. Now you're generating more space, and now Mitchell and Garland have and whatever wing player ends up winning the starting job out there in Cleveland ends up having more space to work around. So that's the biggest thing for me with the Cavs in this strong start to the season. There's a couple more things I want to bring up, but before that, I want to ask you, what do you really make of what they're doing right now? Again, 6-0.
I've been looking for this freaking article. I don't know who it was. It might have been The Athletic. But basically, the Cavs this offseason, when they reached out for this coaching search, they were like, we're going to interview you. We're just mostly interested in what you're doing with Evan Mobley.
I think I remember reading this. It was like 90% of the questions were about Evan Mobley specifically.
Yeah, and Kenny Atkinson, obviously, I'm assuming, had the most exciting plan for him. And again, the smallest sample size in the world, but here we are, 6-0, and you can't get any better than that. That's an absolute fact. You've won every game you've played. There's no way to get better than that. So, Mobley, I think we've talked about this a couple times, man. These young guys, they just get these contracts now. He's got $225 million contract. Like, everybody's getting paid. You and me have had this conversation about Cade. We talked about Cade and comparing him to, Paolo. And it's just, if Mobley can get really good, it's going to be very exciting, especially with Jared Allen and what they have with the Cavs. Because so often these players get drafted and you want them to be like Wembanyama. You want them to be like, from the jump, like really, really good. And you kind of forget about them because they're not. Well, here we are. We're a couple years into this dude's development, and here, he's out there doing the damn thing. So,
yeah, absolutely. I don't think so. Obviously, we know the Cavs they're a defensive-minded team, and a lot of their offensive production comes from those two main players I mentioned before, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. So there's all your offensive production. Right now, they're doing something that they're probably not going to be able to keep up, and that is going to be their effective field goal percentage of 62.4%. The Boston Celtics last year recorded the highest effective field goal percentage in history. Only the champs. So at 57.8%, and again the Cavs are at 62.4%. The difference between them and the runner-up right now at 57.5 is the equal of the difference between second and 18th place teams. So it's a pretty massive jump. So they're not going to be able to, most likely not going to be able to keep that same type of percentage up. I'm going to bet a lot that they're not going to be able to keep that percentage up. But if Mobley can continue to do what he's doing right now, again, teams are going to have to contest him, which means they're going to have to respect him. And again, the floor spacing is going to be better. But when it comes to the defensive side, we know what it is, right? The Cavs are right now. They're outscoring their opponents 20 points for 100 meaningful possessions, which is kind of nuts. When Allen and Mobley are sharing the floor, probably not going to keep that one up as well. Considering when they played opponents with the double big lineups last year, they did not play well. But when it comes to the net rating of 8.6 from 2 seasons ago, they could probably replicate that. If they can replicate that, continue to play high octane defensive ball, and have Evan Mobley shoot the three effectively, I think this team is gonna very much compete for a high seed again. They were the 4th seed last year, and I think that if the Magic are going to be hurt, the 76ers look like dog shit, the Bucks look like dog shit. I think the Cavs have a really, really nice path to the 2 seed right now. Again, very early in the season, but the path looks really nice for them.
Yeah, the thing about Mobley is just with any young player, you want to see them be aggressive. You want to see them make decisions and go. You want to see them. I mean, his biggest thing was probably just getting downhill, and he's doing all 3 of those things early in the season. He's making a decision. He's going with it. He's being super aggressive, and that just makes it so much easier for everyone else. And I know that's a cliche, but when you have a player that is locked in like he is defensively, I saw a stat earlier. I think that players are shooting like 28% against him field goal percentage, him and Chet. It's just outrageous. And when you defend the way you do, and now you've become a force on offense, it just opens so much transitionally and getting out and running. And frankly, it's not even as if he's gotten to that point. Like, there's still another level, you assume, with a young player such as him. And it really makes you wonder what the Cavs might look like if he reaches that this season. If it's still a development season for him, maybe, but if he can actually get to the next level, what they're trying to accomplish, and keep in mind, they're 6 games into this offense. They're 6 games into what their coach is trying to do, and they're undefeated. It's just a fantastic start for them.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more. And again, it's right now it's expectation of around the 2 seed with all the injuries and other teams not looking so well. Before we move off of the Cavs, though, we're going to stick with the East for the rest of the show. Do you want to say anything else about them? Moving on. And we mentioned one of the teams already, and that is going to be the 76ers. Struggling with injuries, which is something that we knew was going to happen. It was bound to happen. Embiid, we already knew was probably going to miss some time. Paul George dealing with some bone bruising I believe is the official narrative right now. And obviously there's a lot of questions on the transparency with Joel Embiid, and they launched an investigation. And so a lot of interesting stuff happening there. And then there's the flip side of the players are actually playing, and the player that means the most to this team, and it's going to be Tyrese Maxey and what he's doing right now and how efficiently or inefficiently he's been playing. So right now with the 76ers, what do you make of the entire situation?
I think, not to be cliche this entire podcast,
Okay.
but I think it is getting late early for the 76ers because we see this happen every year where you think that these players are going to come together and they are going to just figure it out. And that's been the excuse for years with Kawhi and Paul George and Harden and all these guys. That was the excuse a couple years ago for the Suns, right? They didn't play enough time. They didn't get enough time together to mold.
You can throw KD in there too.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that you're already getting to the point where you're 1-3. You look awful. Maybe I should stop. I just said they're 1-3. It's been 4 games. I should maybe relax. But you're 28th in field goal percentage. You're 29th in 3-point percentage. You're a big team, and you're like 15th in rebounding. Like none of it's good. There's just none of it is good. So I don't really care about the investigation into whatever they're doing with Embiid. Who cares? But Paul George is hurt again, and I don't know what to make of that because I'm not 100% sure you can take anything they say about injury at this point at face value.
I think anyone's going to have a really tough time taking anything at face value. You lost against the Pistons, right? Like that's one of your losses. You lose against the Bucks. You lose against the Raptors. You beat the Pacers. Congratulations, a final in overtime. But the Bucks do not look good right now, and they beat you. The Raptors are not going to be a good team this year. They beat you. The Pistons are not going to be a good team this year, and they beat you. Tyrese Maxey is having to shoot like a historic amount of shots to start the season, at least historic amount for the 76ers individually. Just like you brought up, they're bottom 4, bottom 5 in offensive rating. They're bottom 3 in field goal percentage. They're bottom 3 in rebounding percentage as well. Tyrese Maxey is averaging 31.5 points per game, attempting 28 shots with a 37.8% shooting rate. They've lost both their home games by 8 points or more. And with Embiid and Paul George both absent, like Paul George status is just unknown at this time. Same thing with Embiid. He's just unknown at this time. It's just like, oh, one guy's rehabbing, the other guy we don't know when he's coming back. It's like Kawhi getting the news out indefinitely. Like, are we just going to get the same exact news here in a couple of days? Like, that's what it feels like because we genuinely, there's no, like you said, there's no transparency and you can't trust what they're really saying. I don't know what to really think about the entire thing. This is something that we knew it was going to happen with these two guys who are injury prone and don't perform well under certain conditions, like big moments or the playoffs. And now they're out right at the beginning. And we know Tyrese can't carry this team because as soon as Embiid went out last year, The entire 76ers team ended up plummeting from third seed to play in. Like this is not a team that Tyrese can carry, and he's a good player, but he's not that good. He's not one of the best players in the league where he could just carry a team to a playoff spot. It's just not.
Just
It's not
think,
possible.
Embiid is taking like shots at the fans now, the 76ers fans.
I've done so much for this city, bro. Relax, Doug.
And then you got Charles Barkley taking shots at Embiid. Did you see what Barkley said?
I didn't.
He said, I got in shape and I played every game, every night for $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
$2 million. And you know the NBA is not happy with this. I'm not playing on the second night of back-to-back shit. The NBA hates that for the ratings because Embiid's one of the biggest stars in the NBA.
Yep.
The 76ers got to hate it for, ticket purposes.
Yep.
It's just...
You got to think what Embiid brings internationally, too. The international audience wants to see a guy like Embiid play.
Well, and then do you criticize his decision for the Olympics? You know what I mean? Like you're not, I won't say in shape as if he's not out there conditioning himself, but it's just you're not in game day shape now to play in the NBA, which I know the Olympics are great. God bless America, greatest country on the earth, whatever, all that crap you want to say. I'm good. But this is your job. The NBA is your job. You're paid hundreds of millions of dollars to come out and perform, and now you're just like not.
Yep.
And if he says his body's wrong, then I get it. His body's wrong, but it just this is the shit that Kawhi does. This is the shit that a lot of these guys do. They don't play basketball anymore. It's crazy. It's a little Deshaun Watson-y, to be honest with you. Stubs his toe. He doesn't want to play basketball anymore.
And I'm more than willing to sit here and criticize Joel Embiid, and to the two people that are watching right now, I know those two people are more than willing to hear any type of criticism from Joel, about Joel Embiid. He's just not a likable guy. The way he plays is boring. It fucking sucks. The free throw shit, I don't give a fuck. All you Luka fans, the SGA shit, they all fucking play the same. And it's boring and it sucks ass. I'd rather see Jason Tatum throw up 11 threes in a fucking game, 15 threes in a game, than watch him try to drive to the paint a million times and just try to get the foul call. It's just not entertaining basketball, and that's what Joel Embiid is to me. He's not entertaining basketball, but at the end of the day, he was on pace, if he played his full amount of games, to actually earn his MVP, as much as I didn't agree with his MVP that he actually won the year before. Last year, if he would have continued to play, he probably would have won. He was playing incredibly well. He's playing efficiently. No matter what I think about his player, what I think about he is as a player, he was going to win it, and he was going to deserve it. Absolutely. But he didn't, and he got hurt, as usual, and the 76ers dropped. And this is going to be the entire story all year, and we're going to try not to talk about it 1.5 million times, but it's just going to be the story until he comes back and then gets hurt again, or they suck and they can't mesh. That's going to be the 76ers. And I just don't think it's going to work out.
That's the thing is, even if they both get healthy, who says it's going to work? There's no guarantee it's going to work. I mean, Paul George and Embiid on paper, that seems like that would work for each other. Yeah. Unlike, sometimes things don't work out, like, Dame and Giannis.
Yeah, you could say that again. Which I don't know how much of that is their fault. I have a lot to say about Doc on that one, so we can move on if you're done with the 76ers.
I don't have much to say about the 76ers. It's so early. Their two best players are out, but it's getting late early. Like I said, if these guys can't get back and play meaningful basketball together, I'm afraid. Like, I think these dudes need 35 to 45 games together. I don't think that they can play. And I'm not saying Embiid's going to be out that long or Paul George is going to be out that long, but with load management and all this other stuff, like, you need to play 40 basketball games together to be ready for the playoffs. It's not going to work if they only, and 40 in a row, not like 10 here, 10 here, 10. I don't think any of that's going to work. The teams that are consistently good every year gel together and build together, and you can't just hodgepodge it at the towards the end when the playoffs are coming.
You can't bring together James Harden, KD, and Kyrie and expect to be good, and only play 16 games together and expect to still be okay.
You could try.
Yeah, you could try, but you've only played 16 games together, and who knows how many games this team is going to end up playing.
I totally forgot about that Nets team. Holy crap!
Yeah, that's the first thing that popped in my mind, and I thought it was less than 20, but yeah, I just confirmed it. 16 games. They went 13-3 in that stretch, but 16 games. Yeah, Katie's big ass feet can't, keep his foot behind the 3-point line to win a game. So, that's on them. And then the Bucks go on to win a championship. So
Him
say
and
what you
Isaiah
say.
Likely, they need smaller shoes.
Exactly. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the last topic, and that's going to be the Bucks. And all I wrote down for this one is when I send Drew, just a little bit behind the scenes, I send Drew a list, right? And I say, hey, this is what's on the docket. Do you want to add anything else? And then I also ask a couple more people who listen to the NBA show, and I say, hey, what do you want to hear today? Well, Drew just responds the Bucks. I say, okay, cool. And then all I write on there is Bucks suck. That's it. I don't need like the rest of them. I put the 76ers struggles with injuries and Tyrese Maxey and Cavs starts to a strong season. Other just 2 words, Bucks suck. And that might honestly just be the title of this video right now.
do me a favor though.
Okay.
Because I got good news for Bucks fans. All 3 of you. Look at their next 2 games.
All right. The Bucks are okay. They're playing the Cavs tomorrow and the Cavs Monday.
And then they get to play Utah.
Yeah.
And then they got to play New York and Boston.
Oh,
so they're gonna go 1-4 there if they're lucky. They're gonna be 2-8. They're gonna be 2-8.
And then you start the play-in, which I guess you're playing the Raptors, so I guess it's the same type of quality of team. Yeah, they play Raptors, Pistons, Bucks, Rockets, Bulls, Pacers, Hornets. I guess they get a little bit easier, but it depends on them. When it comes to the Bucks, where you really placing the blame on this team?
Oh, I hate the head coach.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, it does. Again, it's another thing we talked about. Grant Williams at the top. Does anyone like Doc Rivers?
No.
Exactly.
I don't even think that Austin Rivers likes Doc Rivers.
No, I honestly highly doubt it. Real quick on the Bucks, the plus minus for the players against the Bucks against the Grizzlies, minus 12, 0. That's the high. That's for Giannis. Minus 35, minus 29, minus 23, minus 17. Yeah, so that's your top 6 players that play all meaningful minutes. And
Okay,
your
listen.
highest is a 0.
I'm not a big plus minus guy.
Go ahead. Just want to bring it up.
But Brooke Lopez is minus 35 in 23 minutes. In the 23 minutes you're on the court, you're a minus 35. That's so bad. That is just god awful.
Yep.
And they're like 30th in the league in 3-point shooting right now. It's just like you have Giannis. He at times has been proclaimed as the greatest basketball player on the earth. How can you look this bad? And you didn't just trade for Dame. It's not like an offseason acquisition. Who the hell is still hiring Doc Rivers in 2024?
Hey, whoa. Not just Doc Rivers, but Darvin Ham too.
Okay, I'll tell you one thing about Darvin Ham. I saw this thing on TikTok the other day. It was like 10 of the greatest backboard breaking dunks. Do you know that dude used to rip down backboards back in the day?
No, I didn't.
That is the single greatest thing Darvin Ham is known for, is ripping down backboards.
Hey, dude. Hey, just one word to that. Salute. Dude's a fucking class. All right, here. Let me.
That shit had me dying on Sunday every time I was saying. You're like, okay, Darvin Ham. Okay, Darvin Ham. I'm like, no.
Yeah, you and I have the same opinion when it comes to this head coach, and I place a lot of the blame on him very specifically. Celtics fan here. I don't like Doc Rivers. I think he's a fucking clown show, and I can't fucking stand the guy. And I know he was part of Lob City and he was the coach there, but Lob City wasn't fun because of Doc Rivers. It was fun because DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin were dunking on motherfuckers' heads and putting them in graves. Like, that's why it was fun, not because of Doc Rivers. Now, here's the problem. one of the reasons the struggles are persisting for this team so early in the season is Doc Rivers is relying on the same players, and it's not working right now. Two of those players right now are Bobby Portis, who's the sixth man for them, and Pat Connaughton. They're playing meaningful minutes. When it comes to specifically for the Grizzlies, against the Grizzlies, Portis scored 11 points on 35% shooting, and Connaughton scored 3 points, 1 from 7 from the field, 1 from 5 for 3. Both played 25 and 17 minutes per game. Doc Rivers doesn't show any trust in a couple of young guys who could play with high energy and high athleticism. And that's one of the things when it comes to the Bucks is they're struggling against those type of teams. The younger athletic teams, the Grizzlies, that's the exact same team. Again, young, athletic, high octane offensive teams. They can't keep up with them. When you're playing these old guys who haven't caught up from a couple of years ago, 2021 to now, we're 3 years past that, dude. Like, your championship was 3 years ago. I get it. Those guys like Bobby Portis played meaningful minutes on that championship team, but it's not from 3 years ago. Like, you have guys, Andre Jackson Jr., who's young, AJ Green, who's young. Like, these guys are younger guys they have high athleticism, but they're not playing meaningful minutes. They should play these type of kids who want to play, who show the high energy, not the old fucking guys, right? And it's not just the energy and athleticism and relying on them, and it's because they're old. One of the biggest things here for me, outside of just relying on those players, also letting Bobby Portis like play hero and like iso ball. What the fuck are we doing? Why is Bobby Portis, when Damian Lillard and Giannis are on the court at the same time as him, asking for the ball and looking for a shot in iso? Why is Bobby Portis getting a shot over those other two guys? It's disrupting the entire flow of the offense, hijacking it. It's so disappointing. And before Drew plays this, Giannis thrives.
Oh, that's just a still shot.
Yeah, Giannis thrives on the transition heavy downhill approach. Lillard excels in the half court sets, pick and rolls, deep shooting. We talked about that before the season even started, that Giannis was going to have to get better at the pick and rolls, that most of the offense was going to roll through Dame, and if they can get that rolling together, it's going to be a good offense. You can't play hero and iso ball with this team. You're not Boston. You don't have a bunch of high octane shooters. You don't have, also on top of that, one of the best defenses in the league. Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, having those guys play a lot of minutes, and then playing iso ball, that's your problem. That's my problem with the Bucks right now. And all of it stems from one man, and that's Doc Rivers. Do you have anything else to add about this very nice gentleman?
Yeah. Last year, the Milwaukee Bucks were 30-13, and they fired Adrian Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
The team was so excited that they were dancing in the pregame warmups the next game.
Yep.
Since then, they've gone 20-23.
There we go. Yep.
I just don't know who in the year 2024 thinks that this dude is a good coach. We've talked about this so many times. I feel like if there was a stuffed animal, Drew Taylor doll that had catchphrases, one of my catchphrases would be, you buy yourself so much equity when you go to a Super Bowl or an NBA Finals.
Yep.
And Doc Rivers, for some reason, that ATM card hasn't gone empty yet, bro. He just keeps going back to the ATM as what you're on. I went to the finals. I did this thing with the Celtics in 1963, and I still get hired. But the Bucks have done this before, man. They run these dudes out of town, and I don't think Jason Kidd. These experiments. It was Budenholzer, right? Wasn't Budenholzer there?
Yeah.
These experiments don't always work, but when they're 2-8, in 5 games, and then they're 4-13, what are they going to do then? They're gonna fire him and promote Darvin Ham. Like, what's the game plan there?
That might be it right there. That might be the game plan. You're gonna get a lot more salutes in the huddles. I don't get it. And it was the story that, I mean, they didn't like the head coach last year. Wasn't it like Giannis who was really the main, like, the spearhead in trying to get that dude fired because he didn't like him because of what he was doing with him on defense? Like, wasn't that the entire thing? And now you're sitting with Doc Rivers,
30-13.
I don't get it, man. It's super disappointing to watch because this team should be a lot better than they actually are. So it's just disappointing. Anything else to add before we close up shop for the night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Phoenix.
Okay, what about Phoenix?
Is this legit?
I'm not going to believe in Phoenix until there's more time that passed. That's where I'm going to sit on Phoenix because I've been so critical about them. They beat the Lakers, which is impressive. They beat the Mavericks, which is impressive, and the Clippers, which I don't really care about, twice. So two out of their what? 5? That's good. Good job. I'm not going to believe in it until we're further into the season. Let's see where, like, Bradley Beal's health is during the entire thing, because I swear I get a notification on my phone that he's either game time decision or he's out, or he's questionable for, like, every
Shouldn't have
single
drafted
game.
him in fantasy.
I know. I showed my hand there, huh? So I'm looking at the health there, and how that's going to affect them throughout the year. Let's get 20 games in, and let's have the conversation again about the stats. If they're still in the same place, we can have a real conversation about them.
The raw stats are really, really good.
Okay, good.
They're top 5 in scoring. They're top 5 in field goal percentage. They're top 5 in 3-point percentage. It's just seems like it might be too good to be a fluke. Obviously, I think it'll regress a little bit, but
yeah.
Between them and the Warriors, the West is looking. Wow.
Allergic to the Warriors. I get it. Me too.
I'm allergic to Buddy Hield being anything worth a shit. Yeah, Buddy Hield, what a bum. Do you know in 20? Let me hop in the comments. Make sure Ronnie's not here. All right, Ronnie's not here. Good. In 2018, I had a passionate argument that Buddy Hield was better than Devin Booker.
Yep. You've told me.
Now he was. Go look at 2018. He was better than Devin Booker. He is no longer better than Devin Booker. So
that's all right.
Do you know who is scoring the most points in the league right now?
The
Warriors.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
It's not gonna keep up for long.
I hope not, because that's the Kings division, and the Kings got to go to the finals.
Do they? Do they have to go to the finals?
No, they just need to win a playoff series. DeMar's the truth, though, man. Have you caught a game yet?
No, I haven't been able to watch a game yet up to this point. What interesting games are on the Kings schedule that I feel like watching? I was just looking at it. I'll catch the Kings Suns game November 10th. Next Sunday, I'll catch that game because that looks like the most interesting one. I don't feel like watching the Raptors or the Heat.
They play Miami on Monday. You don't like the Heat?
No, why the fuck would I watch that? Jimmy Bricks? I don't want to watch Jimmy Bricks.
Next Monday, they play the Spurs. I'm very excited. I haven't seen Wembanyama yet this year. Hopefully he plays.
Yeah. All right.
They play some trash can team. They play the Lakers. They play the Lakers 3 out of 6 games. And they play some trash can team in January.
Do they? Some trash can team? Which one's that?
We gonna go?
That's in Boston, the 10th.
Oh, shit. Is the Sacramento game in February?
Sacramento game is in March, late March, too.
Neither of us might be here in late March.
Yeah, we might both be out of state. All right, let's go in and cut it right there. All right. last thing to say to the people, Drew, before I sign us off and go through the spiel?
Yeah, can you make sure that you actually cut off the YouTube this time? That way there's not a 30-second clip of me cussing you out after we go off air.
No, I think it's pretty entertaining. All right. If you stuck around to the end, we do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the NBA show here on Friday, or if you're catching this at a later point, make sure to check us out on Tuesdays live for the NFL. I know we didn't have one 2 weeks ago. That was just some stuff happening in our lives. And then this week, excuse me, we had a little bit of technical difficulties with the recording site that we use, and ended up getting corrupted. So pretty disappointed about that one. But usually catch us on Tuesdays live. You can still catch that live stream from last Tuesday. So make sure to catch that. Look at the last 30 seconds where Drew likes to yell at me. If you want to continue to catch us on all social platforms, catch us on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, short form content, clips from the podcast, and the entire podcast entirely on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts at the 2020 Podcast. And besides that, hopefully you guys have a beautiful weekend, and we will see you on Tuesday.
Go Falcons.
Fuck off.